Macmillan Audio presents A Bad Day for Sunshine by Darynda Jones. Read for you by Lorelei King. Chapter 1. Welcome to Del Sol, a town full of sunshine, fresh air, and friendly faces, barring 3 or 4 old grouches. Sunshine Vicram pushed down the dread and sticky knot of angst in her chest and wondered yet again if she were ready to be sheriff of a town even the locals called the Psych Ward. Del Sol, New Mexico. The town she grew up in, the town she'd abandoned. The town that held more secrets than a politician's wife. Was she having second thoughts? Now, after all the hubbub and hoopla of winning an election she hadn't even entered? Hell yes, she was. But after her night of debauchery, aka her last hurrah before the town became her responsibility, she thought she'd conquered her fears. Eviscerated them, beaten and buried them in the dirt of the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. Either Jose Cuervo had lied to her last night and given her a false sense of security, or her morning cup of joe was affecting her more than she thought possible. She eyed the cup suspiciously and took another sip before looking out the kitchen window toward the trees in the distance. The snow had stopped last night, but it had restarted with the first rays of dawn. Snowstorms weren't uncommon in New Mexico, especially in the more mountainous regions, but Sun had been hoping for, well, sun, her first day on the job. Still, snow or no snow, nothing could stop the brilliance that awaited her along the horizon. Thick clouds soaked up the vibrant colors of daybreak and splashed them across the heavens like a manic artist who'd scored a new bottle of Adderall. Orange crush and cotton candy collided and dovetailed, making the sky look like a watercolor that had been left out in the rain. The vibrant hues reflected off the fat flakes drifting down and powdering the landscape. Sun was home. After almost 15 years, she was home. But for how long? No, that wasn't the right question. Somewhere between her karaoke rendition of Who Let the Dogs Out, which bordered on genius, and her 5th shot of tequila, she and Jose had figured that out the night before as well. This was the opportunity she'd been both anticipating and dreading. Since she had a job handed to her on a silver platter, she would stay until she found the man who'd abducted her when she was 17. She would stay until he was prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. She would stay until she could shed light on the darkest event of her life, and then she would put the town in her rear view for good. The right question was not how long she would stay, but how long it would take her to bring her worst nightmare, literally, to justice. She tucked a strand of blonde hair behind her ear and appraised the guest house her parents had built, studying it for the umpteenth time that morning. The Tuscan 2-bedroom felt bigger than it was thanks to the vaulted ceilings and large windows. All things considered, it wasn't bad. Not bad at all. It was shiny and new and warm. And the fact that it sat on her parents' property, barely 50 feet from their back door, was surprisingly reassuring. She'd worked some long hours as a detective. Surely, as a sheriff, that wouldn't change. It might even get worse. It would be good to know that Ari, the effervescent fruit of her loins, would be safe. The kid felt as much at home in the small tourist town as Sun did, having spent every summer in Del Sol with her grandparents since she was 2. The fact that she twirled through the apartment when they first saw it, like a drunken ballerina, also a strong indicator she would be okay. Ari loved it, just like Cyrus and Elaine Freyer knew she would. Sun's parents were nothing if not determined. And that brought her back to the malfeasance at hand. They were living in an apartment her parents had built. An apartment her parents had built specifically for Sun and Ari, despite their insistence it was simply a guest house. They didn't have guests, at least not guests that stayed overnight. The apartment was just one more clue they'd been planning this ambush for a very long time.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?